Hello, Westford. Town meeting began and ended on March 24. The school committee approved a plan to make up snow days, and Kevin Regan was recipient of the Gordon B. Seavey Appreciation Award. I'm Nancy Burns, and it's time for WestfordCAT News. Just a reminder, Westford, for you to subscribe to our free online daily publication at WestfordCatNews.org. And if your civic or cultural organization has an event coming up, send us the details at news@WestfordCat.org. Annual town meeting voters decided on 28 articles between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. on March 24. They nixed a petition filed by Bill Taffel for $55,000 that would have funded the design of a traffic light at the intersection of Boston Road and Main Street. Through a reciprocal agreement with the state's Department of Transportation, town engineer Paul Sterrett arranged for the state to pay for the light's construction. However, selectmen voted unanimously not to recommend the petition. Here's Selectman Mark Cost.
As it relates to the cost of this, having chaired the Capital Planning Committee for 10 years, I can assure everyone that the final cost of this will not be 55 plus the 60. It will be some number much greater than that, to be determined once the study is done. And I also have an issue with the fact that we call money from the state for which we pay, which is $1 million plus free money. So what we're doing by taking the $1 million or whatever the number is from the state is actually reprioritizing other potential money that we as a town may need for other higher value opportunities as it relates to the TIP programs.
Resident Tom LaFlamme made a case in favor of the light.
I've heard a lot about the rural character of the town. I think that comes from the people, not the traffic signals. And we can't compare to 1800 Westford. We are in the 2000s at this time. Traffic is not going to get better. Cars are not going to disappear from these roads. More cars will come through, if anything. We have an opportunity now. It would be a great time to take that opportunity.
Thank you.
But the measure failed 224 to 204 by secret ballot vote. Toward the end of the meeting, a majority of voters approved a petition to reduce the number of plastic bags distributed by local retailers. Here's the petition's filer, Richard Coleman.
This bylaw will have no impact on your budget. This will be handled within the staff time as it is. And that will happen because there's nothing in the bylaw that says every store will be inspected. It is rather based on the idea that it is a self-enforcing bylaw. Once stores are informed and know what the bylaw is asked of them, they will probably and most likely conform. Plus, any of you at any point can file a complaint with the Board of Health. So our main task is to educate, educate, educate.
The bylaw will go into effect on January 1, 2019. A first offense will prompt a warning. A second offense brings a fine of $50, and a third offense, $100. A humorous moment occurred as town meeting voters decided whether to recommend the use of community preservation funds for a number of projects. These include $6,725 to preserve Reverend Willard Hall's journal. Library Director Ellen Rainville provided the necessary background that convinced voters it was a worthwhile expenditure.
I would have to argue that there are not a lot of historic conservation funds available. And I also would like to point out that this is not really about the property of First Parish Church, but this is about the history of Westford. In 1729, when we were West Chelmsford, we could not break away and become Westford without a settled minister, and that was Reverend Willard Hall. And he maintained his ministry until 1774, when the Solemn League and Covenant was sent to every pulpit in Massachusetts, and communities voted whether they would harbor people who dealt in British goods and whether they would deal in any British goods. This was after the harbor closing in Boston. Only 2 men in Westford refused to sign this. One was Reverend Willard Hall. The other relented. Reverend Willard Hall lost his pulpit. He lost the ability to stay in town ultimately. He was relegated to the pew. He was not allowed to bring his firearm in church. And he was the sole male who remained a loyalist in Westford his entire life and ultimately moved to Littleton. Now, I just want you to know, this is gripping reading. 50 Shades of Grey has nothing on the original, it's true, fornication list in Westford, in Willard Hall's journal. So many a genealogist has been taken down by finding their ancestor in that list. So this is a historic Westford document that we want to preserve. I know, because I've applied for funds, there are not a lot of funds for preservation. It is very expensive. This is unique. It is critical to our history. It is unique American history, and it is irreplaceable. So I would encourage you to vote for it.
Finally, retired day school principal Kevin Regan was presented with the Gordon B. Seavey Appreciation Award. Seavey died in 1996. He was a Westford resident and the editor of the Belmont Citizen. Seavey established the annual award to be given to someone who has made an extraordinary contribution in town. Here's Superintendent Bill Olson announcing the award.
This year, and I know we just named the gymnasium after Kevin Regan, but Kevin has been retired now for a year, although you would never know that. He has worked untiringly with a committee to raise over $50,000 for the new day school playground. He continues to work as an umpire, works in youth sports in Westford. So it is with my greatest pleasure to present the Gordon Seavey Award to one of the finest human beings on the face of the earth, Mr. Kevin J. Regan.
Watch the entire annual town meeting at WestfordCAT.org. School committee members approved Superintendent Bill Olson's plan for making up 3 snow days to meet the state's required 180 days of learning for the school year. That means the last day of school will now be June 22. Here's Bill Olson.
Here's a chart, bar graph that I wanted to present to you to show you and put this in perspective in terms of where we are this year. We started with the 2007-2008 school year. And over the course of the 10-year period, we've averaged 4.2 days lost in the school year. And this year, it's been 9. And as I said, 4 of those 9 days have been since March 8th, the last 2.5 weeks. All right? So it's been very, very difficult. First of all, we look to make up the no school days on March 9th, March 13th, and March 14th. Teachers would provide assignments and meaningful assignments to students on those respective dates that you see, April 13th, May 4th, and June 1st. And there would be essentially a 2-week period over which the students, or during which the students could accomplish their work. Certainly adequate time.
School committee members approved the plan 5-1 with Megan Ackroth dissenting and Arthur Benoit absent. The WestfordCAT School Committee video includes much more detailed information about the plan as presented by Assistant Superintendent Carrie Cleary. Visit WestfordCAT.org to watch it. Lucy and Fenway of 5 Grassy Lane are off the hook after being labeled dangerous by another resident. On January 24, Joe Fava took his 50-pound Labrador off leash as he passed the home of Jeff Hallio, who wasn't home at the time. But Hallio's dogs, Lucy and Fenway, were in the yard, guarded by an electronic fence that was apparently malfunctioning that day. The 2 dogs approached the perimeter and attacked the lab, injuring it. Fava and his wife Sandra filed a complaint. Here is Sandra Fava.
On January 24th, around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, my husband took my dog, she's a 50-pound black lab, on a walk. A favorite walk of ours is on the path down at Lakeside to the beach, but it was really icy. So my husband unleashed the dog and let my Mindy kind of frolic around while he decided he was going to head back to the car. But just as soon as he was turned around to walk to the car, he heard my dog scream. So he turned around and he saw 2 big dogs on top of her. So now he's trying to get to where the attack has taken place. And the whole time he's yelling and screaming and trying to make a ruckus in hopes of scaring off the 2 dogs. And it did work for one of the dogs. He did turn around and run home. And as my husband was approaching the attack, the other dog turned on my husband, gnarled his teeth, growled. But my husband, I don't know how he did it, but he stayed calm and he yelled and screamed and just took his stand. And that dog did turn around and run home, thankfully. So he got my dog. My dog was on her back, wounded, of course, and he got her back to the car, and he called the police. And then he called me because I wasn't home. He said, "Can you meet me at home? We got to take Mindy to the vet." So I met him at home. I called the vet, said we're on our way. So the vet clipped and cleaned her wounds, gave her a rabies shot, even though she wasn't due until 2019, but the vet said it was standard procedure to give a rabies shot. And we left with 2 weeks' worth of antibiotics and 2 different prescriptions for pain and inflammation.
Hallio had this response.
I regret that I didn't do a better job to manage the Fava's complaint against me and my dogs. Perhaps if I had expressed some of the thoughts that I had about their complaint, some of those thoughts that I had conveyed to the selectmen in my letter last week, perhaps they would have seen a different perspective. And they would not have felt the need to escalate this situation into this public hearing. But I didn't, and here's why. I first met the Favas on the 25th of January. They did meet me at my house in person at that time. They recounted what had happened, the incident, and then they expressed to me, and I'm going to paraphrase here because I don't remember exactly, but they told me that I had better pay them. If I didn't pay them, that they would make trouble for me. They would escalate the issue with the town, and they made kind of vague remarks about other escalation. Really didn't give any specifics. 2 days later, Sandra Fava called me and reiterated the same sentiment. I should pay them. If I don't, they will escalate. They will make trouble for me. I've received 2 letters since then as well with the same information, basically saying I have to pay up, and if I do, there'll be no more trouble with the town, there'll be no more issues with the lawyers, I think was the terminology that they had used. The Favas were clearly very upset about this incident, and if I'd done a better job, perhaps we could have avoided this escalation of this dispute. But anyway, let me tell you a bit about the dogs. I'll try and be brief. Lucy and Fenway are 8 years old. We've had them since they were puppies. And at that time, we installed the Pet Stop wireless fence system, and it has performed reliably. There have been no complaints about my dogs. Certainly there is no history of complaints against them to the animal control officer. They are inside dogs, but when they are in the backyard, they pretty much stay in the fenced area, in the wireless fenced area. And that's despite the fact that it's a very active area. There's a lot of stuff going on around my house. There's a sidewalk in the front. A little further in the front, there's a path that runs along the power lines. And on the back side, there's a path that runs along the lake, a public trail that runs along the lake. And there's always people walking there. frequently people walking their dogs. My dogs will bark at them, and but they never leave the confines of that area. With that said, I honestly don't know what happened on the 24th. And the more that I learn about this incident, including what I read from the father's complaint, it seems that nobody really knows what led up to the incident between the dogs. Mr. Fava was on site, but per their own complaint, he unleashed Mindy is the Fava's dog, and then left. He walked back to his car, which left Mindy to roam, as Mr. Fava stated, unattended, off-leash and unattended.
Halio has since strengthened the electronic fence, and Animal Control Officer Meg Mazzoni said she is confident such an incident won't happen again. Selectmen accepted her recommendations, which included not allowing Fenway and Lucy in the yard without supervision, and posting a reminder that dogs must be on leash. Watch the entire Selectmen's meeting at WestfordCAT.org.
Hi, I'm Jody Ross, your town manager, and we're here at the Rodenbush building to give you a little update on construction. I'm here with Eric Heidemann, our assistant town manager, and Jim Duane, our new director of Parks, Recreation, and Grounds, soon to be Cemetery, added to that in July, and Bill Kennison, who acts as our owner's project manager on this construction project. So Eric, why don't you give us a little insight into what's happening?
Thank you, Jody. So you'll see here in this classroom, up above us, there was a considerable shake in the floor on the second floor, and we actually sistered all of the floor joists to provide extra stability for the room. There's some temporary shoring that's currently here that'll be removed after the construction's complete. Over this way, we have the elevator shaft around the corner, which is a new addition to the building. That's over there is a temporary wall that will be removed also once the construction is complete. So again, this will have an elevator that goes to every floor of the building, along with handicap accessible bathrooms. So we're really excited. And lastly, another thing to mention while we're standing here in this room is there used to actually be a wall right here that was removed to bring the room back to its original size. So this room is much larger now, and it's going to be great for different community activities.
So here we are on the second floor of Rodenbush, and this used to be the kitchen area. It's being reconstructed into a new kitchen, and there will be a door here and glass surrounds, and they'll have a very separate area for just kitchen facilities. The rest of this area up here will be a classroom. Here we are on the third floor of Rodenbush, and this area used to be just used for storage. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of room now that we've taken everything out. A lot of natural light with all the lovely windows that we have, and we're thinking maybe this might be a good space for the recreation department. What do you think, Jim?
I think it would be fantastic. I think it's an excellent opportunity to bring some synergy in the town to cultural and recreation services, and I think if we had an opportunity to operate in the space, it would be a win-win for the town. Absolutely.
So we are meeting with the Rodenbush Community Center to discuss the Recreation Department moving in, and we haven't discussed the space needs of either entity at this point, but it is something to think about and exciting for all of us. So we're very excited about the progress we're making with this construction project, and we're on deadline to hopefully have it complete by December of 2018, and we will be sure to give you more updates both on our Facebook page and through WCAT. Thank you.
Kyah, an energetic and friendly 9-month-old pit bull mix, is available for adoption at the Lowell Humane Society. Here's Patty Stocker with more.
My most recent visit to the Lowell Humane Society brought me in contact with this rambunctious but friendly pit bull mix puppy named Kyah. Here's volunteer Roger Logeman with more.
Hi, this is Kyah. Kyah is a female 9-month-old pit bull mix. She's a very friendly dog, but very high energy. Loves to play with her toys. She's probably about 30 pounds now, and she'll get a little bit taller, and I'm going to suspect that she'll fill out some, but she's pretty close to full grown. Kyah wants to be the only dog in the house. She could live with dog-savvy cats and older children, probably not toddlers or small children. She's just too animated for small children, but she certainly is friendly enough. Hi, aren't you? She was brought to us from a family that had several small children, and they really didn't have the time to spend with Kyah that she needed, especially being a puppy. She needs to have somebody that will do some training and spend some time with her, and they just weren't able to do that. So she doesn't have bad behaviors, she just doesn't have great manners yet because she hasn't had the benefit of a lot of training and attention. She's very sweet, very high energy, very compliant. She lets me take things out of her mouth. She lets me roll her over and rub her belly without any resistance. When we're out for a walk, she's curious about everything, runs from tree to post to pillar and wants to investigate everything. But she's never been aggressive or hard to manage. She's just 9 months old and very curious. So Kyah's been with us probably since mid-February. So she hasn't been here an extensive amount of time, although the little bit of time that we've had to work with her, we can see some definite improvement in her leash manners and jumpiness, which has really diminished quite a bit since we first got her in the kennel. Probably the biggest concern for Kyah is that she's not a dog that would do well left home alone all day. She'll find her own fun, which may or may not be suitable or appropriate. So she's a dog that needs attention, at least until she gets a little older.
If you'd like to learn more about Kyah or any of the other pets available now for adoption, or would like to learn how to volunteer, foster a pet, donate, or fill their wish list, visit their website at lowellhumanesociety.org. They're located at 951 Broadway Street in Lowell. Call 978-452-7781. You can also find them on Facebook. For WestfordCAT, I'm Patty Stalker.
Kyah, sit. Sit. Good girl. Have a paw. Good girl. Yeah.
Kshama brings you information on the health benefits of spring cleansing.
Hi everyone, I'm Rekha Sharma, your Ayurveda practitioner, back with a new health tip for WestfordCAT News. Today I'm going to talk about health benefits of spring detox. As the weather changes, the doshas or the element predominance also changes. Spring season brings in allergies and stomach upset. You can do some simple remedies for spring cleanse. Prefer green tea of lemongrass or hibiscus alternately. Add turmeric to your steamed vegetables and soups as it helps in liver detoxification. Increase fiber intake, eat salad in lunch or dinner. Eat green stir-fried vegetables with mushrooms and spring onions. Instead of thick soups, eat light soups with less creams. If you have any allergies, please contact your PCP before consuming. I'll be back with a new health tip. Bye for now.
Spring is in the air, Westford. Here's the weather as provided by weather.com. WestfordCAT volunteer Betsy Alvarez is here with suggestions for things to do around town.
Thanks, Nancy. Westford Boy Scout Troop 95 is holding an electronics recycling fundraiser on Saturday, April 7 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Rita Miller School on 1 Mitchell Way. Among the items you can bring are wires, cables, cords, mice and keyboards, air conditioners, microwaves, audio cassette players, cable TV boxes, and cell phones. Check the troop's website for recycling fees and other details at westfordtroop95.com. Westford resident Joy Rio will bring the Joy Rio Trio to the Colonial Inn on Wednesday, April 4th from 7:30 to 10:30 p.m. Joining her will be Molly Flannery on piano, Neil Kruskowski on saxophone and percussion, and special guest Bill McCormack on bass. There's no cover charge. The Colonial Inn is located at 48 Monument Square in Concord. A reception will be held at the Parish Center for the Arts to introduce a collection of World War I vintage posters collected by George Seeley. The reception takes place on Sunday, April 8 from 2 to 5 p.m. Refreshments will be served and admission is free. Visit westford.org/BCA for more information. I am Betsy Alvarez, a WestfordCAT volunteer. Back to you, Nancy.
That's it for now, Westford. We leave you with images from the annual town meeting on March 24.